Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for your patience. My name is Bonnie. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the poetry event coordinator here at Brookline Booksmith. Today it is my pleasure to host three incredible poets, Diana Whitney, Stephanie Burt, and Anna V.Q. Ross, for our third Thursday's poetry reading series. Before I introduce our poets, I have just a few housekeeping notes. Firstly, copies of these three wonderful collections of poetry are available for sale at the back counter over there. I encourage you to support the poets' work in whatever way you can, whether that means buying books, following them online, saying nice things to them tonight. Just being here is a huge way to show support, so thank you. Secondly, please keep your phones off or on silent for the duration of the reading. And also please know that this event is being live streamed to YouTube on this iPad right here. Hello, YouTube. The audience should not be visible to our live stream viewers, but if you don't want to be live on YouTube, don't stand directly in front of it, and you will be golden. And then finally, we will have a Q&A at the end of the event, so please hold your questions till the end. Definitely have them ready to go. This event is part of a monthly reading series that takes place on the third Thursday of every month at Brookline Booksmith. Our August 3rd Thursday's poetry event is listed on our website if you'd like to check it out. And now for the fun part, introductions. Diana Whitney writes across genres with a focus on feminism, motherhood, and sexuality. She's the editor of the best-selling anthology, You Don't Have to Be Everything, Poems for Girls Becoming Themselves, which was the winner of the 2022 Claudia Lewis Award. She's also the author of 2 books of poetry. Her first collection, Wanting It, won the Rubery Book Award. Her latest, Dark Beds, which you can see right here, was a finalist for the Poetry Society of Virginia's 2024 North American Book Award. Diana's writing has appeared in the New York Times, Glamour, the Kenyon Review, Miss Magazine, and many more. She was the longtime poetry critic for the San Francisco Chronicle, where she featured women and LGBTQ voices in her column. An advocate for survivors of sexual violence, she lives in Vermont with her family and works as an editor and writing coach. Thank you, Diana, so much for being here. And of course, Stephanie Burt is a poet, literary critic, and professor. Burt grew up around Washington, D.C., and earned a BA from Harvard and PhD from Yale. She's the author of 6 poetry collections, including most recently, We Are Mermaids, which came out from Grey Wolf Press in 2022. And she has a 7th forthcoming collection, Super Gay Poems, coming out from Harvard U Press in 2025. She's also the author of several works of criticism, including Close Calls with Nonsense, Reading New Poetry, which was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award, and Don't Read Poetry, a book about how to read poems, which offers an accessible introduction to approaching the genre, but is good for poetry lovers and newbies alike. She's also the author of a forthcoming book on Taylor Swift. She's taught at Malacaster College and is now professor of English at Harvard University. She lives in the suburbs of Boston with her spouse, Jessie Bennett, and their 2 children. Thank you, Stephanie, so much for being here. And last but certainly not least, Anna V.Q. Ross is the author of 4 collections of poems, most recently Flutter, which won the Benjamin Saltman Poetry Award from Redhead Press, the Julia Ward Howe Award in Poetry from the Boston Authors Club, and was named a 2023 Best New Poetry Book by the New York Public Library. Her previous books include If a Storm, winner of the Robert Dana and Hinga Prize, and the chapbooks Figuring, which was an editor's choice for the Frost Place Chapbook Competition, and Hawk Weather, winner of the New Women's Voices Prize and the Jean Pedrick Chapbook Award from New England Poetry Club. She's the recipient of grants and fellowships from the Fulbright Foundation, the Massachusetts Cultural Council, Virginia Center for Creative Arts, and elsewhere. She teaches at Tufts University and through the Emerson Prison Initiative, and she lives with her family in Dorchester, Mass., where she raises chickens. Thank you, Anna, so much for being here. Folks, we're in for a really, really lovely night of poetry. Let's give a warm welcome to our 3 amazing poets.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you, everyone, for being here, poetry lovers. It's really exciting for me to get to read with Anna and Stephanie. So I'm going to read a few poems. Actually, I'm going to get this on timer. Read a few poems from Dark Beds, and then I am going to pause and do a little interlude of new work because, you know, we always like to keep it fresh, and then I'll finish with a few from the book. Velvet Rocks. That August in a cotton smock, I hoofed up Velvet Rocks, 40 weeks to the day, full up to my sternum with baby. The elastic band of my bike shorts rode low beneath my belly, panting like a wolfhound, cranky and hot. All I wanted was to get you out of me. So I tramped the granite switchback lined with mosses, arms swinging the humid summer forest as the sun rose higher above the valley, the river snaking between two states. How matter shifts, firm to yielding, solid to liquid, liquid to air. I'd done all my homework, read all the books, practiced my breathing, my hypno-visualization, swallowed evening primrose oil each morning, slid the golden capsules deep inside, where they melted like honey to soften the cervix. And you dropped into the pelvic bowl, sunny side up. Ready or not, here we come. Keep walking, they said. So I hauled you up Velvet Rocks to the shelter where I'd camped at 19, ate watermelon by firelight, a stone's throw from the tiled hospital, the mechanical bed beaded with sweat, ice cubes on my forehead as if on a skillet, your skull bearing down, your neck arched back. You were navigating the tunnel. We were digging deeper, the summer river green and flecked with amber, suspended between two states of matter, between out and in, between here and there, S-curves of current shifting, alluvial silt filtered through algae, bright scalpel, your blood, my blood, white curtain drawn tight, bright room like a boat where they hauled you in, thrashing. So I read this when my 16-year-old was in the room, and I had to say, sorry for sharing your birth story. That's how long this book took to come into the world. Really took a long time. So I'm going to fast forward to kindergarten. Same kid. Kindergarten studies the human heart. Nothing like a Valentine. Pink construction paper, blue-sticked doilies downstairs in preschool. The sand table filled with flour. The fours driving trucks through silky powder. White clouds rising to dust their round cheeks. Up here, the fives are all business. 4 chambers on the chalkboard. 4 rooms colored hard in thick-tipped marker. Red and red, blue and blue, oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor. The branching vine of the aorta hanging its muscled fruit, carmine blood flower blooming in a dark jungle. My girl squeezes her fist to show me the size of it, pulses it like a live animal, taps the double rhythm that never stops, not a trot, but the echo of a trot, not a drum, but the echo of a drum, small palms on the art table laying down the backbeat, become, become, become. So I thought maybe I would just read all summer poems because it's so hot, but I thought, in order to really capture, I'm from Vermont, and I do write a lot about the weather, and a whole section of this project definitely takes place in the winter. So this is called Geography. The house shuddered all day, trying to cast me out, but I would not abandon. The wind, ravenous gusts, arrived and gasped through chinks in the plaster, rattled door jambs, spit snow shards on channels of glare ice. A whole geography took shape in a king bed, vast continent of quilt where we played nice, turned, and hugged the coasts. Caught in a net of half-truths, I thrashed like a landlocked panfish, slick with perilous hunger. And the story paid out its unseen line, thoughts unwinding in dark sheets. Phantom lover like a barb in the gills, rasping, ruin me, take me, sink me in the water again. So fast forward to a summer poem, and this book takes place in 3 sections. And when I was putting it together, I organized it through 3-act structure: conflict, crisis, resolution. Whether or not readers receive that, I'm not sure. But right now we're in the crisis section. So this is called Torched. The book is dedicated in part to Esther Perel, if that gives you a clue. Torched. All the garish flowers opened in midsummer, tiger lilies yawning on the road, bordello blooms climbing over each other, bee balm, plume poppy, bronzy red and gold. I dragged the couch onto the summer porch in another careless gesture toward desire. You were the one who lit the torch with pollen, diesel, and meadow fire, cooled it with blackberries dripping juice, water pulled from an alpine spring. The cat unfurled herself on the car roof like a black velvet ribbon of longing. The hay lay knit and spun in torrid rows, falling in a blonde mess to the shoulders of the field. You coasted slow as syrup down the edge of my daydream, engine purring, windows down, rusty truck of trouble come back around. All right, so I think I'll do one more Dark Beds poem, and then take a little interlude from my new project, which is called Girl Trouble, and it's currently being shopped. Looking for a home, which, if those of you poets know, is a long, long journey. This book took 3 years of me sending it out, so if that's something that you're doing, stay with it. Okay, so I'm going to read a poem for my mother. My mom had Alzheimer's for 10 years, and that journey is in this book too, because everything was happening all at once. Motherhood, losing mother, trying to stay married or not. And this is called word finding. Word finding is a pervasive symptom of the first stages of Alzheimer's disease. Word finding. 3 words we must never speak. Do you remember? My question is a stone thrown into the deep waters of our conversation. Anxiety ripples outward, tip of the tip of the tip of the tongue. I'm sorry, I can't. Words slip past, scatter like minnows in a dark lake. Awareness of the sense, but not the syllables. Slippery things moving in reeds and shadows. Don't hunt them. Don't grasp. Cast a net lightly, and the words swim back, finned silver, triumphant. As we row the lake again in our quiet boat, all eyes and hands. My mom died in September. Her name was Jude. So I like to think when I read that poem that she's with us. So I'm gonna read a couple of poems from Girl Trouble, which I will just say is not a light book about girls, rape culture, and excavating female adolescence. So definitely with the second one, like, take care of yourselves, and if you need to take a break, please do. But I wanted to read this one, first of all, because it's the same kid whose birth story was in the first poem I read, Velvet Rocks, and also because I've been thinking a lot about anger this week and what we do with it, and this seems like a good outlet. It's called Penalty Box. Any hockey fans, you'll recognize. Penalty Box. The ice is a brutal slab tonight, etched with tempered steel, echo and thud of bodies slammed against the boards. The girls fly like warriors, anaerobic gladiators in helmets and face cages, gloved and padded beyond recognition. No trace of hips or breasts beneath the jersey. I feel their ferocity, sticks whipped and slapped, ponytails streaming on the power play. Suddenly, there's a ruckus at the goal, and it's my girl, swinging her fist, charging on despite the whistle, pummeling the offense as two refs try to pull her off. The crowd roars, boys bang on the boards in a frenzy of fight lust. We stand by through the long hush of deliberation. Will they throw her out? 3 minutes in the box for roughing. She sits there grinning with pride, bareheaded and adrenalized, poised like a lioness after the chase. Where else can a girl let herself go? Unbridled rage muscled against the enemy, sweat channeled into strategic violence, protecting the goalie, blocking the crease, rousing the team in the final period, short fuse, hard head, stick smash like a weapon on the ice sheet, hand her a crown of laurels as the clock runs down. All right, so one more. This one, I don't know if any of you know Chen Chen, but he's a wonderful poet, and he taught I wish he was here. Oh my gosh. All right, well, this one's for you, Chen. He taught a workshop on the hater poem, which was something I'd never heard of. You know, often we hear about odes, which is like the opposite, but a hate poem, you know, it felt, a little risky, and I wasn't sure it was going to come out, but what came out was something like from deep, deep back in the 90s, back to my college days, and then forward till now. So this is called Hate Poem for Animal House. Frat boys, I hate you in plural, in flannel, in ball caps on backwards, holding court on the balcony, brick kingdom of kinship, casting judgment below. I hate your grand pillared houses of debauchery still standing, prime real estate increasing tenfold, lifelong capital return on your hell week paid out in networks of power. I hate your future sons and their legacy admissions, your beer pong in the reeking basement, plastic cupfuls of beast like primitive foreplay, your private language of excess and domination, chugging and booting and chugging anew. I was supposed to laugh, supposed to feel lucky, appraised by the bouncer dude working the door. Frat boy, I hate you in singular, your gaze up and down me, burly pecs and t-shirt sweat, square jaw of ego, wordless lord of the castle, the unflappable nod granting permission to cross. I hate your prowess at keg stands and beer bongs, your fleet of motorcycles, your pack of house dogs pissing on the ruined lawn, your traditions alive in iconic movies, and football kids here in town shotgunning beers on YouTube, like the high school kid who raped a girl at a party and someone filmed it and posted it, but nothing happened. He got to stay in school, stay on the team. Everyone knew, even the principal. A squat former frat boy, oh, I hate him too. How he patrolled the halls and dress-coded girls, made them lift up their arms and scanned for an inch of midriff, sent them to the nurse for baggy sweatshirts of shame. And I hate the mothers of frat boys, the ones who raised them, the one who told me in earnest, in tears, I'm sorry your daughter got hurt, but I have to believe my son. Okay, we're gonna pivot. I'm gonna go back to the book, and here's a poem about my dog, just to lighten things up. I think I'll probably finish here, because I want to pass it on to Stephanie, and then Anna. This one's called Dumb Blonde, and let's see. So this book took long enough to write that the girls who were little at the beginning are now teenagers or preteens. Dumb Blonde. Why do the girls mock even the puppy, bubbling through laws, so trusting, all melty-eyed innocence, waggling her rear like a hula skirt, rolling on her back to expose her belly fur to any stranger in the road? She's eager for a word or a pat, the sheer bliss of stroking, how she closes her eyes and splays her legs, rag doll, baby dog, offering up her softness. Pathetic. They call her dumb blonde, laugh at her groveling, hide her toys, feed her a glob of peanut butter, and snort at her tongue, working overtime, compulsive creature lapping its need in quick, pink, humiliating hunger. Dumb blonde, they smirk. Don't insult her, I say. She doesn't know, they protest, loving her up, rubbing her chest, spooning her on the living room rug, their gold hair burrowed in her thick coat. Yes, she's a love sponge, but she'll snap if you make a move for her marrow bone. She knows what she likes, won't hesitate to show it. When the boxer mounts her, she snarls like a jackal, spins and shakes him off, her signature move. Fierce bitch, stubborn bitch, sweet bitch, with the fox blonde face, the only one I'll never have to teach. Thank you. Please welcome Stephanie Burt.
Wow, thank you all for being here. Thank you to Bonnie and to the store, and thank you to Diana. Does the girls hockey poem have a home yet?
No.
We gotta talk about where to put that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's Vermont is one of the places where like UVM plays a lot of women's hockey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we used to go see the Gopher women's hockey. Are there Minnesotans here? No Minnesotans? Okay. That's fun. Anyway, hi. So yeah, 12 to 15, I'm gonna read some poems from We Are Mermaids and then some new stuff, and then we'll see. And there are a couple of people in the audience whose books you should read. I especially want to get a bit of a spotlight to Trace Peterson, who has made it here from Connecticut.
Woo.
And can your thing be announced yet? Has it been announced? You have a thing. Does it have a pub date?
Fall 2025.
And it is called The Valleys Are So Lush and Steep. Look for the next Trace Peterson book in next fall. So good. I read it. It won a prize. Can I say? It won the Saturnalia people are doing it. I know. I know. They're really good.
Yeah.
Let's do this again and have Trace there. Okay. Anyway. I don't know. Are there X-Men fans here?
Yes.
Several?
Correct.
Okay. Who's your favorite?
Gambit.
Gambit. Okay. So my Gambit poem is in a chapbook called For All Mutants, which you can order from Rain Taxi in Minneapolis. But I can't do the Chris Claremont phonetic accent, so I don't normally read it. No, Gambit and the whole Thieves Guild. Yeah. So this is, Anna's heard this one. This is a version of Sappho's poem number 31, set during X-Men Gold number 30, and spoken, of course, by Kitty's first and greatest love, Ilyana Rasputina. Before the wedding. That man you're standing next to, for so long I looked up to him like a god. You are immured in conversation, and when he smiles back at you now, my heart skips, and not for him. Tonight I need armor to look at you. When I want to tell you how we should be together, no human language comes out. I have known this feeling that warms then scalds me before. When you and I touch, it's the best and the worst. I'm brittle tin, I'm paler than drought grass. I shake, my eyes turn black, and I can't see you anymore, and yet I do. I am going to survive this experience, even if it's like coming back from the dead. Still, I wish I could be taking your hand now, even if my horns and tail would show. Let's go upstairs for a minute and look at the moon. Okay, another love poem with, as far as I know, no X-Men content. Rambutan. Well, know what rambutan are? Some people don't know. Does someone who knows want to say?
Delicious fruit.
What do they look like?
Sea urchins.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sea urchins.
Rambutan. Honestly astonishing the first time you see them unless you grew up with them. They look prickly enough to cling to your clothing. Instead, they are a soft unsettlement. Their promise of sweetness more than justified inside. Like the way you told me you once got to pet a porcupine. Nibs relaxed and folded back for better nuzzling. Or the first time after waiting and waiting, you let me hold your hand. Cliché means clench, clutch, and predictable, but also sometimes true. Sometimes I feel tenderly opened up, wet and revealed as if cut in two. I want to spend today with you. Thank you. Thank you. So in We Are Mermaids, there's a bunch of mermaids, and there's a bunch of poems that are full of Easter eggs about mutants from Marvel comic books. And there's a bunch of talking animals and sort of household objects. And there's also a bunch of poems spoken by punctuation marks. And each of the punctuation marks has a specific space it's describing within queer communities. So the quotation marks say things about binary trans girls like me, and there's an exclamation mark near the end that talks about transmasculine experience. And then, anyone here know what a Grolix is? Okay. So, you know when people in comic books, and especially newspaper comics, like they swear, but you can't print the swear because it's the Boston Globe, so it says like @ pound sign, exclamation, $, pound sign, like that. That's a Grolix, Grawlix. So I really wanted to say something about polyamory and ethical non-monogamy and open relationship stuff, because there aren't enough poems about those topics. And it turned out that the correct speaker for that was a Grolix. So you can imagine the title of that, right? What's hard is deciding what we need to spell out and what would trip you up, where you can't go. There is a kind of urban legend, this is the Grolix speaking, a kind of urban legend or myth that we never say what we mean or even try, but those are fighting words. Besides the hype, it's mostly dishonesty we can't stand. That and people who have so much self-doubt that they never say what they want. Most of us are older than you think. We definitely do not all have the same type. Each of us fears isolation, but cherishes solitude, along with our ability to count, divide, and let our complex math, not literally complex math, include all relevant variables. The X, the Y, and anything else that matters to all of us, with the important exception of the kitchen table, or else the kitchen sink. I've never read that one before, and maybe I never will again. Okay, one more poem from We Are Mermaids. And it is a pseudo-sonnet about something that we actually saw in Sligo, Ireland. And what else would you need to know? I think the only... thing you really need to know is that Sligo has a whole bunch of William Butler Yeats stuff and also an art museum called The Model. Question mark. Sligo. This small child at a traveler's halting site in American trailer park chose to arrange 24 slabs of cracked asphalt, each about the size of a house cat, so that they made a straight path, then veered up to the property line in the shape of a giant crumbling question mark. Anything, given time, can become a fine art. Anything can turn over or decline, or break, or come back together, or simply change. Put that in your model museum. Put that in your vault. We've got time for a couple new ones? Yeah? Okay. These are also new. Who am I kidding? I'm desperately insecure about everything. It's sad. But I'm especially insecure about these, which are so new that, you know. Anyone see the eclipse in April? Yeah. Eclipse. Don't borrow trouble, says the sun, then ducks out of sight. A sheet of synthetic mica, 2 sheets, a pinhole, a needle left in blank cardboard. Whatever you believe the heat, gone sober on vacation, can afford. We stand for an hour with sorrow over our eyes, while the moon's body double pretends she can protect us with her shadow, as if all we had to do to lead a happy life had become too much for us to swallow, as if we too had to keep inside a numbing penumbra, bone and marrow, and then go clean our faces, as if we wanted permission to stay up all night.
Are you editing that poem while you read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you do that? So that is a poem about a household argument spoken by a pitcher plant. I think it's too long to read.
Were you reading it differently and then marking down your changes, or were you reading it the way it was on the page and then thinking better of it and editing?
Second one.
Okay.
Second one. Okay. This one's topical. Delegates. July 2024. They keep their own time. These effervescent cherry blossom freshnesses along our scuffed up street. Nobody wants to blame them for cowardice in not falling. They are nature without us, running up their own score. Nonetheless, somebody planted them too. White flags turning pink like flesh slept on. They seem to ask forgiveness for even standing here, as if they had grown up and into one another's way. As for their shiny mottled red gold fruits, you can eat them, but they're chewy, thick and bitter even when ripe seeming, though the squirrels don't mind. By August, the violet-studded scruff of grass directly below them will fill with pits and the occasional apple core. Everybody wants more. Their 5-fold clusters stay green at each center, facing one another as if arguing, petals floppy in even the lightest breezes, ready to settle a score. The common law is clear as noon's sun. No man shall be judge in his own cause. The hesitant air says some people go readily, others ready for applause. Okay. 2 more new ones? Okay, it's one of them short. Student evaluations. The foamy tides daily believe they can climb all the way up the beach. I want everyone to love me. And that's obviously a character flaw. Okay, so do we want, what?
One we all share, right?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, not everyone. I have known teachers who were just like, I'm just, if you don't like me, it's your fault. And some of them were really good teachers, but I can't imagine thinking like that. Okay, so do you want to know about Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Spoken by a pinball or a car seat? Taylor, do you want Taylor? Everybody wants Taylor. When you give people a set of options and one of them's Taylor, they always choose her, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was a commission, and the end where the repeated words are based on originals by my former students Annabelle Facey and Matt Tibbins. The much maligned Swiftie considers her options. I think I'm in my reputation era. I crave support from friends. Commitments scare me. I try to keep the tears off my mascara. I used to share sad tales with any hearer, anyone able to hold my hand and bear me, but now I'm in my reputation era. I thought each boy who kissed me had to care a little, no, a lot. Those boys could wear me down the way hot tears dissolve mascara. They saw me as a gem and then a terror because I called them out. They wouldn't share me. So now I'm in my reputation era. I slink and stare and shine. I'll be your mirror, or else your boa constrictor. You can wear me. I lick my lips and hiss through new mascara to tell you the toxic truth about love. Just dare me. I'll keep you watching now. Don't try to pair me off or up or down. You can't repair me, and I know I can't fix him. He can't snare me. I'm done with tears. They can't touch my mascara. I'm finally in my reputation era. Thank you. Anna Ross is up next.
That was so great. I have no poems about Taylor Swift. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
say that up front.
Yeah,
Sorry.
say that.
Well, maybe, yeah. We'll see. So yeah, I'm gonna be brave, like Diana and Stephanie, and read some poems from my book and then some new things. It's such a gift to go last because then I can just sort of hear what my fellow readers have read and decide what reminds me. So this is a poem that's in kindergarten. My daughter's kindergarten. My daughter is now 17, so this is some time ago. And when you put together a collection, you kind of realize what your obsessions are. And I didn't realize until I had finished this manuscript how scarred I was by learning math as a child. So I have all of these, and then of course when you have children you get to, relive all these wonderful experiences. So anyway, this is called Arithmetic. White 1, yellow 5, red 10. At school, my daughter's learning math with colored blocks. She sorts and measures and sorts. How many ways to make a 10? Rewarding same with same. On the rug, the children rush to say that she is 5, and so is he, and she, all except the boy who's 6, and wonders if he's turned another animal. At home, my daughter says her skin is pale, paler than mine, but mine is paler than Jasmine, who's paler than Josiah, who's paler than Anaya, who's paler than Lorraine, who's darkest of all. She pauses. I watch her adding and subtracting. Outside, some kids are kicking ball. We hear them through the window. The last few leaves gold on their branches. The sky already softening towards dusk. How many ways to make a 10? The light comes into us, translucent, cool. We sit here figuring. So I'm just gonna skip ahead. That arithmetic poem is one of the older ones in the book. And this is, I think, might be the last poem I wrote. It's called Passenger Pigeon. I read once that they traveled in flocks as big as hurricanes and as fast. Millions of birds flying so low you almost didn't need a gun to catch one. Just reach an arm up and grab. Too easy. Nuisance birds landing and deflowering a tree or field in minutes, then lolling around, dirtying the ground before the swift, swirling rise toward elsewhere. Who was their passenger? Or is passage the important part, the routes they moved through air? We care so much about who belongs where. Arm ourselves against the imaginary. No one believed they could die out. There were so many. So I'm going to read a poem that I keep sort of hoping will stop being relevant, but that hasn't happened yet. So we've all been thinking maybe, or I've been thinking about the Supreme Court a lot lately. Perhaps you've been joining me in that. So this is a poem that uses some found language from Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing. And it is set, as many of my poems are. I have a lot of poems about driving in this book as well. And this one is set on I-93, which you probably have many. Trace probably was just on I-93. Fugue. Can you tell us what you don't forget? The senator's voice repeats from the radio. It's rush hour, Boston, I-93, driving home from dance class with my daughter in the back seat. Her 12-year-old legs stretched long in pink body wrappers brand spandex as she wonders aloud what we're going to eat for dinner. Air brakes wheeze, then release beside us as a bus muscles past. And should I change the station as the senator's voice repeats, can you tell us what you don't forget? Above the traffic, rush hour, Boston, I-93, my daughter in the back seat. Girl whose body I once unwrapped from mine. Is she listening now as the woman speaks? I was pushed onto the bed. His weight was heavy. I shake my head. Boston, rush hour, I-93, as if I could swerve by what edges up in me. He put his hand over my mouth. It was hard for me to breathe. Boston, rush hour, I-93, but I'm cruising a suburban street of dandelion lawns, legs the same age as my daughter, who jams her knees against my seat when I hit the brakes as one last car squeezes in ahead of me. Can you tell us? Boston, rush hour, I-93 is fixed to a grid of red. What you don't forget? Taillights that bleed their after images. Can you, against gray sky? I'm tired. Forget picturing my bed back home. What you don't, quilt pulled tight against the sheets. Can you don't forget? Or is it that other bed? What you, and what year was it? Forget, don't. What day? Don't. Can you forget how? Tell us, don't tell what, did he, what, can you forget, don't tell us, touch me? I was wearing a two-piece bathing suit. I believed he was going to rape me. Boston, rush hour, I-93, taillight flickers, horns begin to beep. How many times will I repeat this drive? Mom, when are we going to move? Her voice reaches toward me and I ease my weight up off the brake, considering the question. The miles like bodies fall between us and what I don't forget in Boston, rush hour, I-93, driving home from dance class with my daughter in the back seat. Thank you. So, one last one from this book. This was just on the slowdown with huge thanks to Major Jackson.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was very
That's-
cool, I
that's
have
a
to say.
podcast.
Yeah.
You know, that's a podcast.
13. Here's to the beautiful daughters who eat all the cookies, who won't sleep and don't sleep and then sleep all Saturday until hunger engines them up into the noon kitchen glowering, who snatch our good red boots, colting down the hall out the door in our new black sweater, who grow, who smile silent out the backseat window all through the hello and how was and did you and I did and monologue. Who are they looking at? Who freckle and tangle, sturm and drang, blame and are right and still want a song at good night. Who ask and the answer is no, is yes. Who ask and the answer's skein philosophical, barbed, skinless, capillary. Who ask and remind us, who know the inside of us, who don't remember, who do, who get and give, who live, who forgive. So my daughter's actually been away a lot this summer. She's in this period of separating herself. So I guess I'm thinking about her a lot. So I'm going to read from this mess of a manuscript that I'm making my way through this summer, trying to shape into a real book. And I think I'll read maybe 3 poems from it, if that's okay. I know we're running a little bit late. You'll notice that all of the poems have the same title and first line, and they all end with the same word. And I think that's maybe all I'll say about it for now. Maybe I'll come up with something else to say when I can. I thought I marked the one I wanted to read, and now I can't find it. Okay. Another mention of transportation. Those of us who live in the Boston area know about the vagaries of the T. So that comes into this one, and the Mystic River. All my poems used to end in sky, but now they end in sleep. A kind of tumbling toward the inevitable. Or maybe that's just what I want to believe, like the anonymous woman on the burning Orange Line train last week who jumped from the smoking window of the first car and then 30 feet off the Mystic River Bridge where the train had stopped. I think I'm safer here, she told her would-be rescuers in the Coast Guard boat before she swam to shore and disappeared. Boston's new hero, crowed the headlines the next day, and maybe that's just where we're at right now, America. A woman uncoupling herself from burning steel to dive into a brackish current famed for absorbing heavy metals, petrochemicals, and other bodies, then swimming away without leaving her name. In the video posted on Twitter, her head is a small dark blot, almost obscured by halos of ripples as the camera pans from too far away to find her face. Boston strong. Probably she was already late for work, people joked in the thread. But maybe she was on her way home from the overnight shift, I thought but didn't say. A job she fell into years ago, never meaning to stay until the kids came along and she couldn't afford to pay both rent and a sitter. Now she relies on the jerk and clatter of the orange line to lull her back each morning over the bridge towards bed. I was very scared for all of us, she said, before hanging up on the one reporter who tracked her down. I imagined her turning over and pulling up the sheet, erasing herself back to sleep. I just last week went to the aquarium. I love the aquarium. Actually, I love all aquariums, but I went particularly to visit the octopus. So this is an octopus poem. All my poems used to end in sky, but now they end in sleep, where I might dream of the giant Pacific octopus I once saw at the Seattle Aquarium, rust red fluorescing to electric blue and back, legs hungering at all of us passing by. When I read that a female octopus lives alone her whole life until she mates, then sits guarding her clutch of eggs, not feeding until they hatch, and she, starved, dies, it seemed too easy. My kids next to me, reaching their hands to meet her suckers safely on the other side of glass. I have not died for them, although I would, I tell myself, push them from the path of the careening truck or body block the bullet, but this has not been required. I am not evolutionarily programmed to dwindle to a ragged shape on seafloor, pale and spent outside my den, waiting for a shark to tidy my carcass away. No. But when I hear that an octopus carries 2/3 of her cognition in her arms that can telescope to twice their reach, their slime-covered suckers letting them taste and see whatever they find, I feel yes, yes. As my kids spread from me now, fingers sticky with lunch into every crevice of museum, the tide pool touch tank where the hermit crabs might pinch and the sea urchins will draw blood, the underwater dome circled by venomous dogfish, the deep open-air pool where harbor seals hunt and play. An octopus can survive if one of her arms is taken, torn off by predator or accident, will even grow a new one in its place. But what happens to the touches and thoughts that go with it? Are they the fine first curls and milk teeth long divided from the nursing nerve, kept insensate in a jar atop the dresser? I watch her, wondering if I'm the thing she wants to know and at the same time flee, as she tenses her muscles into horns, then subsides, chromatophores within her skin expanding and contracting to match the color first of a pile of pebbles, next my shirt, and finally a neighboring anemone. But let me not anthropomorphize. I am here, human in the aquarium, my children spreading themselves as wide as they can from me, then retracting back for a snack or to report what they've seen. All of us changing shape beneath the watery lights, blurring us into an almost liquid, almost animal sleep. They're so amazing, octopuses. Sorry, they are not octopi, they're octopuses. Okay, let's see if I can find one other thing I wanted to read. Here's here. Yes. Okay, anyone else totally love the Barbie movie? Sorry, that's a really leading question. You can't say no. Okay. All my poems this is my last one. All my poems used to end in sky, but now they end in sleep, reminding me of those long evenings when my son was 3, that strange intermediate age between toddler and full kid. He never wanted to take a bath, even though we made him every night, this being the calculus of bedtime we'd arrived at somehow. Food plus immersion equals rest. But every night he stormed, body rigid against the indignity, and then once in, refused to come out, bucking his head back so that his curls tendrilled beneath the surface, his hands raised and fingers grasping, then releasing, like the arms of twin retreating squids. He would have stayed cradled in the tub all night, but needed to fight himself or us to get there. My daughter always climbed right in, then out again when we told her it was time. Being older and a girl, perhaps she learned futility early. She even tried sometimes to reason with her brother, though once she bit him, she confessed years later, and let us think his tears were the usual tantrum. What can I say, except I tried, and mostly failed to teach them. But the forest was always there, pressing in with all its Barbie dolls and Kens. I didn't care, in truth, if they ever got clean, only wanted us all to find our way, stained and roaring, back to sleep. Thank you.
Oh, you funny as a video. What do we do now?
You guys can come on up.
Oh, yeah. We're supposed to encourage people who are here who don't have books by like Anna and Diana who can purchase the books to buy the books if you want them. They're really good.
Yeah.
I already own them, so yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, you can do that.
Thank you to the 3 of you for sharing your work with us. Now it is our audience's time to shine. So we do have a few minutes for a Q&A if anyone has any questions for our wonderful poets. And it's okay if not. I mean, sometimes people feel shy, that's fine. Anybody? Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was curious, Diana, you mentioned the process of sending out your book for several years, and you talked about being in the process of like shaping a collection, and I was curious to hear from all of you just about what that process is like and whether it feels the same every time or different, and yeah, just sort of generally what that's like for you. Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't answer the same or different quite yet. I think the stamina required. I mean, I think there's definitely poets who have a press that stays with them, and that's a wonderful situation. But others of us don't have that, and so you have to kind of go out into the marketplace. And I really think about it like a long process, and unfortunately with poetry there's this contest system where you have to pay, and so that for me was like a budget that I had to create, and that can be a limiting factor, and that's one reason why it can take a long time, because you have to pay an entry fee for a contest and open reading periods, which can be $25, $30. There's one of them that's $35, so you might add that up. This can sound really negative. I think what I ended up finding with Dark Beds was that it took the time it needed to take to find the press that was the right home for it. And looking back, it's a lovely woman-run press, and the real community that I found through it that I wasn't expecting. And so, no regrets. I had to stick with it. And I think I had this illusion, like, oh, next time it'll be really fast. Like, no, it's not this time either. So I'm just trying to. I wish that I got better at rejection, and I want to just say, like I do not have a thick skin. I always just aspire to just let it roll off me like water off a duck's back, and like just be totally, confident. But it does sting, and then at the same time, like you just have to keep the faith and keep moving, and then also maybe give yourself breaks too if it's taking a really long time. So I'll pass it on because I'm curious about the shaping of the collection. I'll maybe let you speak to that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, just flick it up. Yeah, sorry.
there we go. Yeah, I second what Dana says about the sort of logistics of sending out. Shaping collections, I think that the thing that has changed for me the more I've done it, so this is like this thing that I'm working on now is technically my 5th collection, 2 chapbooks and 2 full-length books. And what has changed for me is that I'm more willing now to say that I'm writing a book. In earlier collections, it was like I'm writing some poems and I'm sort of doing magical thinking, not like pretending, I'm just writing poems. So don't look over here, just writing some poems. And now I'm more willing to think about the collection as a whole as I'm writing it. Of course, that can be putting the cart before the horse sometimes, right? And I have to be also aware of that. But that allows me maybe a little bit more freedom to like not put so much pressure on every single poem as I'm writing it, and to think in sort of larger terms. So with this collection that I'm working on right now, I don't know if it's going to stay in the structure and shape that it's in now, but right now it's in this like sort of repeated structure, this sort of book-length series. And because I decided to let myself do that, I was able to write 60 of them and know that I was going to toss out, like at least a quarter of them probably, right? And that's really freeing because you get to take more risks with yourself and not be as hard on yourself. So yeah, I guess maybe that's a piece of advice I would give to people is to, be honest with yourself. You are trying to write a book, and also give yourself the opportunity to fail better, as Beckett would say. Right?
Clearly, next question, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that, I have two questions. One of them is, do you find writing more or reading more improves your poetry?
Great question.
Question is, do I find writing more or reading more improves my poetry?
Yeah, or writing.
I mean, both. Both? Doing a lot of both. The more you read, the more you're likely to find models and work that you might want to imitate or learn from or secretly make references to. Like my poems are full of like semi-secret references to things. Or things that make you so upset that you have to respond to them because they're bad and wrong and you have to fix them. And the more you work on your own writing, the more you might figure out that you need to read this or this or this or this or this to learn things. The only unambiguous answer I'm going to give to that is translate. Read work in other languages if you can, and read work by people who've been dead for a long time, even if it's in English. And think about how you would get those effects into your own writing. And that will 100% make you better at whatever you're trying to do.
Cool. Nice. All right, we do have time, I think, for one more. Yeah, I see a lot of hands. Could everyone who had their hand raised it? Oh, yeah, you can go.
There was a very interesting common thread in all of your work around time and temporality and seasonality and eras. And I'm very curious, in the next season, where are you moving toward? Are there things that you want to try or themes that you want to explore, and what's exciting for you?
I know right away.
Yeah.
Because I've already written a Guggenheim proposal for it.
Okay.
It wasn't accepted.
Ask again next year.
Yeah. have this strange sort of bookend in my family on both sides, and of course the pandemic brought this more clearly to mind for me. Both my father's mother's father, so my great grandfather on my father, and my mother's mother's father, both died in the 1919 influenza pandemic on either side of the world. One was in California and the other was in Ireland, and I'm sure that that's one of the reasons that my parents found each other, because my mother grew up in Ireland, my father grew up here, and then they met in England, and but I'm really interested in tracing sort of the documentary and emotional effects of that lineage from each side, and also maybe thinking about pandemic as metaphor and how it changes our geographies and our family structures. So that's the next thing I want to work on.
Amazing. I just finished, maybe not just, but I put together Girl Trouble kind of in December, January, and so I'm in this sort of fallow period after a project, and I can be so hard on myself. I really had to give myself permission to not be working on anything specific and kind of like let the field regenerate. And so I'm kind of writing into not knowing, which right now is looking like not writing much and doing a lot of reading, which is for me what I do, like reading across genres. I love reading novels, I am reading poetry, but just sort of letting things percolate. Although I also write nonfiction. I haven't had a nonfiction project for a while, but I just got the idea, like when my kids were little, I wrote a parenting column that got syndicated, and I did that for like 4 or 5 years. It was called Spilt Milk. And then, I don't know, last month I got this idea because I'm going through menopause, and I was like, what if I wrote a menopause column? Wouldn't that be crazy? And then I was like, actually, I want to do that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Like I'm kind of tiptoeing up to it, and like, how would I pitch it? And I'm somebody who does really well with a deadline, so that's my new idea, and it's kind of exciting for me that it's nonfiction and not poetry. It feels like the stakes are much lower.
The mic's been, no, it's back. Any requests? Like, what would you like to see? And well, no, I'm not entirely kidding. One of the things I've realized, having written a bunch of books, is that I'm deadline oriented and I'm collaborative, and I am not one of those people who just needs to shut herself away. If you shut me away for 36 hours, I will be calling all of my friends and saying, please help me. And my favorite writing projects feel in some sense collaborative. They're poems written for someone or to someone or with someone or about something. And, I take requests. If there's something you want to see in a poem and you haven't seen a poem about it, I'm right here. Oh yeah. Well, you've got the cephalopods covered. There aren't enough cephalopods, and you're doing it. That was so cool.
They are so cool.
Well, we got to talk about cephalopods and autism, by the way.
Oh,
Do you?
okay. I
Yeah.
don't know about this.
Did you guys? You know this, right?
No.
Okay. So you know how the puzzle piece is not the symbol of autism, and people who are actually autistic tend to hate it because the Autism Speaks people support child abuse. It's a whole thing. So the most widely accepted, like, this is autistic community, whatever that means to the people involved, symbol that I've seen is the octopus. Because this is a super intelligent being who a lot of normies find incomprehensible, and has a lot of skills that most people don't have, and some deficits. And they're great. So yeah, you're gonna have the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, which is a great organization, showing up next time you read the cephalopod poems.
Okay.
Be aware.
I'll I'll embrace them. Trace, do you want to ask something?
Ask first.
Oh,
Ask first
Oh,
before
that's
you
right.
ask.
Yes, I will. But you had your, I saw
Yeah,
that you had.
I did, but I don't want to make this go too long.
I'm so sorry, we do have to.
Just come
stop
up
it
here
for a minute,
and
But we
ask.
will have a signing that's about to commence, so you can ask her.
Okay.
Anyone who had a question remaining can still ask, just not in front of the group.
It's signing in the
Um,
sense of we will write our names in books if you purchase them, not in the sense of ASL.
Yes, yes. So, thank you all so much.
Thank you. This is so much fun. Thank you so much.
Anna, it's wonderful to have you, and thank you to our audience for being here, for supporting poetry. You can buy a book over at that back.